Dan the man, what's going on, brother?
What's up? What's up? Long time.
What part of the country are you in right now?
I'm actually in California, but I'm going to Chicago Wednesday. So
You were in Texas with the black shirt on, or
yeah,
Arizona?
Arizona. That was from I took that video back in I want to say April of this year, in March or April this year. Might have been May. I don't know.
You been golfing lately?
I have not been golfing. I need to go. I'm going out of town for like almost a week in Chicago.
What's
So
in
I do want
Chicago?
to family, and I'm meeting with having some business meetings over there. So it's a double whammy.
How was the conference, man?
Man, it was good. Fourth annual event. It's really cool to have stuff annually because if you don't do it, you never do it. But if you do it, if you make a decision to do it every year, you just show up. It's pretty cool, and the consistency is pretty cool.
Where's it going to be next year?
I think we're gonna do Corpus again. We really liked it. It was it's a very underrated city, and we spent time at the beach, so it's a part vacation for us. So might as well enjoy it.
Honestly, I never even heard about Corpus Christi, Texas.
Yeah, it was my wife's a Selena fan, so there's a Selena museum because she's originally from Corpus Christi. She's a Mexican American singer from the 90s.
I know
That's the way.
Selena. Everybody knows Selena. Bitty Bitty Bum Bum, Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, some people.
So, Dan, who you voting for, man?
Oh, I don't like to talk about politics.
All right, we won't talk about politics. I'm curious. My goal is to kind of have like different debates with different people, like the politicians debate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I see a lot of people on the internet who are like heavily one-sided, and a lot of people, they are like, well, this person never did anything for when they were in office, and this person never did anything. And so it's like, I just think it's healthy to have the conversation. I don't think we should avoid certain conversations. We're not going to talk about it right now because, I mean, people don't want to offend anybody. That's one of the things that 50 Cent said at the conference. He's like, man, don't talk about politics and don't talk about religion, because there's somebody on the other side who feels strongly about the opposite opinion. They don't just like have an opinion, they feel strongly about that opinion. And I think that's a very interesting thought, because like you see these people who they come out and they start talking about like, oh, you need to vote for this person, and if you don't, then this and this and this, and it's not a very kind conversation. It's like personal attacks on the person's character. I was like, man, I didn't realize I was not doing what I was supposed to be doing because I just choose to vote for a particular person that you don't necessarily want to vote for. I thought I was doing a lot of good things, but it is what it is, brother. Hopefully I can download this audio and upload it. I'm using StreamYard, so it's going directly to YouTube. I might have to download it off of YouTube and upload the audio, but
I can help you do that. One thing I've been using for the podcast side is Spotify. So Spotify has video upload.
Yeah, so I just upload that makes a lot of sense. Huh?
And then people can listen to audio too because it converts to audio and video.
So I don't have to worry about going through Stitch. What's that app called? I haven't done this in so long, man. What's that app called that uploads to all the platforms and stuff?
I use Spotify. There's a bunch of different platforms, but I use Spotify directly. Spotify puts it on all platforms for me.
So, what you been talking about lately, man?
Everything, anything and everything, man. A lot of business. Feels like it's been a little bit more stressful lately. Stressful good, stressful bad, and I don't know. Business is booming, but you got all the good with the bad that comes with it.
I actually ran into a lady at the conference. She's like in healthcare. And I kind of told her like different things that I do. And she was like, yeah, you know what I've been really thinking about doing? She's like, I've been thinking about investing in land. She was like, what do you think about that? And I was like, well, I have some friends who are in the land business. I'll connect you with them. They've been doing some really cool things for a long time. I was like, you got to hit them up. The company name is Hive Mind CRM. And so I shot her your Instagram. I'm not sure if she hit you up, but hopefully she did, because that's the plug. Like, that's the plug. Hive Mind is the land kings, man.
How was the event? Did you actually attend any sessions, or were you in the booth the whole time?
So I didn't have a booth this year, man. I I don't know why. I think I just waited too long to make that decision. And then last year was so much work with lugging stuff around and putting stuff up, and it was just crazy. So I didn't do a booth this year, but that was a mistake. I should have done a booth, because if I would have done a booth, the booth adds extra value. It's kind of like having your own VIP section at the conference. So
Yeah.
you have a place you can always go to where all your stuff is at, where you got your charger, you got your music, you got your whatever you need, you have your chairs. You're not just kind of like out bouncing around like a normal person, respectfully. And so, but I mean, it was dope, man. I got a chance to see Don Peebles, saw Ian, saw Fitty, saw the pitch competition. I got to see a lot more of what I don't normally see, because normally I'm working the entire time. But next year I'm going to take the hybrid approach and do both. But I've been thinking a lot about how I even want to vend at that event. And I've been thinking about leveraging it more so as like a marketing event and
Mhm.
less of like a selling event. And so I was like, man, I make all these shirts. I could just give shirts away. I could just give cards away. I could just give people free access to my lead magnet, that kind of stuff. And
Mhm.
just kind of trying to build and reach as many people there as possible with just like value, as
Absolutely.
opposed to trying to extract in that moment, because a lot of people aren't really there to spend. They're
No.
there to get information, and they've already spent to get that information. So to see it as an opportunity to kind of make money is not the best place. Some people do well. I mean, I think you can position it different ways. I've been thinking about like how I manage the merch, how I market the merch, and just kind of like putting up, like, you don't put up all your inventory. You just put up like samples of the inventory. So we got these 10 shirts, shirt, and the inventory is in the back. You bring it out, it's already folded up, it's already wrapped up in that size. I never really thought about doing it that way, but that's like the smarter way to do it. In the past, I haven't really done it that way, but you learn by doing, you learn by vending. But I mean, I think it was an overall great experience. I think anybody who goes to something like that and they have like a negative thing to say already had the wrong mindset in the first place. Because in my opinion, you can always find the good in whatever you go to. You can always find the good. There's always value somewhere. So if you didn't catch the value, you
You
need
weren't
to
paying attention.
you need to do some inner work, because there's a ton of value in there.
So I've been meaning to go. Every time, it's always like bad timing because that wherever week they choose, I can never make it for whatever reason. Like literally that week was the week of first week of school, so I had a new kid starting school. I'm like, man, again, can't go. But I really do want to make a point to go next year. I'm mad I haven't gone the last 2 years, but I really do want to go. But to your point about the merch doesn't really. There's no profit in merch, only at scale.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you're better off building branding and your online list, and that's the opportunity to do it because you have so many people walking through. And the list is your cost of conversion. So if it's $1,000 a table, just try and collect 1,000 names, and you got your dollar information. There you go, per lead, dollar per lead.
Yep.
But it's definitely an opportunity to build your list, but I wouldn't try and sell, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I feel like
Especially,
it's, if you look at it that way, like, this is how much I'm spending, this is how much I intend to make, it can be demotivating. You're like, I could do something different. But you're right. I think that merch is more marketing than anything. And so that's why I was of the mindset. It's like, man, let me create. So my thought was like, I'm going to create a shirt. And then I'm going to, in order to get the shirt, you got to create, like, you have to like take the quiz. And so you have to take like this quiz on options trading to see, or this quiz on the stock market. And so you scan the QR code, take the quiz. If you beat the quiz, you get the shirt type thing, kind of make it like a game. Of course, you get the email and the information in the process. Um, but yeah, like just I mean, all those people in there. Like if you just expose yourself to all those people, like that's the win. And again, it's like you don't ever. It's tough to kind of expose yourself to people when you're asking for something. But if you're giving something, it's a different conversation. So I mean, I've kind of gone through multiple iterations of entrepreneurship, and I had this thought, and I was like, you know what? I'm at a point now, being back in the firm, where you hit this wall of like thinking you should be earning more money, wanting a raise, and then having to ask another man for that raise. And I was like, nah, you got to get that raise how I've been getting raises before. So,
Absolutely. I had an epiphany recently, and it was my daughter. My daughter, she's like, I'm gonna turn 7 this year, and I'm like, 7. And every time when her birthday comes around, my firstborn, it's very pivotal to me because that's the last day I worked for somebody. It was before my daughter was born, right before. So I've been an entrepreneur for 7 years this year, and it's I haven't had ask a man for a raise or ask a man of what to do or how to do it. It's just been and then 7 years is a long time.
yeah,
It's a long time, so I have perspective and wisdom that I did not have when I first started, and the things I think about and decisions I make are very. I like look at it like, man, I'm getting really good at this.
like when you say good at this, what do you mean by that?
You get good at making decisions quickly. You get good at whatever your process is. If you've been doing it for a long time, you get good at it,
Yeah,
and it becomes very reflexive. And then whenever you think about like what it took to get there, you're like, oh man, this has been a very interesting journey. So it's like every decision you make, especially if you've been doing something for so long, it's like, man, this is really working out, and it's really they can't take this away. They can't take away your experiences and knowledge away.
yep. So you did tweet something. You said if you buy something from an ad, you're paying for the ad and profit.
Oh yeah.
Why'd you tweet that?
I've been seeing not necessarily like a lot. I've been seeing a lot of like course sales, and it's not as bad as it was during COVID, but I still see it, and everybody's like, "Oh, why is it so expensive?" And you always see that, like, why would they charge that much? And I just been it was on my mind, so I was just like, you're paying for the ad spend and the profit. So how much cost it costs to convert, that's what you're paying for.
But that's why a lot of people don't run ads,
Yeah.
because like a lot of entrepreneurs who don't run ads are only thinking from the perspective of profit without the ad spend. They're not
Mm-hmm.
adding the ad spend to the profit.
Mm-hmm.
And so for them, it's not profitable. At least they perceive it as not profitable. And so they're like, well, I just won't run ads. I'll just struggle. And this is one of the things that I tell my mom a lot in her business. I'm like, your rates have to reflect you not doing the work. So if you were only pricing it as if you're doing the work and now you try to farm it out to somebody, it becomes unprofitable. And then you get stuck doing the work. However, if you price it at an extra 30, 40%, now you can pay somebody to do it. You still make the same profit. You don't do the work. The hard dogs, that's all they do. And that's every business that you should be getting into should be, how do I, because that's not even a business. That's just a job. And I think that we got to really be 100%. Like if you have a business that requires you, I'm not going to call it a business. If you have an enterprise and that enterprise requires you to show up and do everything, otherwise you don't get paid, you do not have a business.
Yep.
By definition, you do not have a business. You can tell people you got a business, but you don't. You have a job. And when you really start to understand what they're talking about, it's liberating. Like that's what they're talking about. Like, all right, I have all these pieces I have to put in place, but not just put the pieces in place. You got to build out the pricing so that it can justify all of that. And
Yep.
that's what a lot of people are missing. Their pricing is as if they're doing it. You go to these firms. I've given this example multiple times. These firms will bill out an attorney at $450 an hour and then pay them $150 an hour. Your pricing has to reflect the enterprise and the business and the profit margin, because they're also factoring in the advertising. They're also factoring in the marketing and the accounting and all that stuff, graphic
People.
design.
No, 100%. I had a conversation with somebody recently, and they're trying to contact me, and I've gotten to the point where I have people in place to kind of handle certain things, and I had like a reflection moment, like, hey, I need you to go through this person. Do you know why I need you to go through this person? I need you to go through this person because that is their job, and they get paid for handling that duty. If I were to do it, I'm stealing from my employees. So you need to go through them to do it, and they'll get it done for you. It's not
Yeah,
my job.
right.
And that was a reflection moment I had where I'm like, you need to go through the process. It is what it is. I'm not that person you need to speak with. Yes, I am a person to speak with, but when it comes to certain things, I don't do that.
Yep. And I think that that's important because, like, and I tell my mom this a lot all the time too, is like people shouldn't be coming necessarily to you. They should be coming to your business.
Yep.
Like, you don't go to Amazon and be like, I'm just here to see Jeff. Where's Jeff at? Get Jeff on the phone, man. It's like, no. And I think that, like, if your business, like, what they really want is the outcome. They don't need the outcome to come through you. They need the outcome. So I think that that's something that a lot of people don't understand when they're approaching a small business. And I make this mistake. Like, there's a restaurant in Watts, and I went there because I had to go down there to meet a client. And so I pulled up and I called the owner. I was like, hey, I'm here. She didn't pick up the phone. She did not pick up that phone.
Mistake number
And that's kind of the way it should be. It's like, and that's where I want even this to get to. I'm thinking, like, man, I have to put things in place such that so I was gonna hire a VA to just run everything. Just keep promoting, keep sending emails, keep doing all these different things, even if I'm busy doing other stuff. The idea is the wealth generator, not necessarily me. I create the idea, I put the system in place, and then the system runs the enterprise. That's business. And so it shouldn't just be like, oh, what, did Charles show up? Did Charles get on the call? Did Charles do this? No, y'all not going to job me out. Like, don't job me out. Don't try to job my business. Y'all can't job my business. And part of that comes from creating a personal brand, which I'm trying to get away from. Because when you create a personal brand, people get that connection to you and they think that you are the only way that they can get their solution, when in actuality, the enterprise gets you the solution. And the same thing with you. It's like your VAs and all the people you've trained and taught, and they specialize in doing that. They might actually be a better person to go through than you. Like, they're going to know more about that specific question than you would know. You know it from a higher level and you're off doing other things. But if they want somebody who's actually in the trenches and that's all they do every single day, it'd be better for them to go to them than to you.
The other thing too is the time availability. My time has been consumed by other things that require my attention. So if you want me to do it, it'll never get done.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also, you're kind of like, just like you said, that you'll be robbing your employees. You would also be robbing your employees as well if you're not expanding. So
Yeah,
it's like, if you're not out there getting them more opportunities, you're like robbing them two ways.
yeah. A lot of people don't understand the ramifications of having employees and everything that comes with that. You get the good, the bad, the ugly. Yes, you get to profit off the work, but you also have to be the marriage counselor. You also have to be their friend. You have to celebrate their birthday and let them go on vacation. You have to celebrate their life, and you have to be a person to them. And everybody just wants to, like, they want to be the person cracking the whip, and that's my employee, and it's not that type of relationship, especially in today's business. It's not to keep people for very long, especially if you use and abuse them. You have to pay people what they're worth, and you have to treat them nice, treat them like a person. If you have a good vision, people will follow. If you have a big
So
vision, a lot of people will follow.
that's a bar. How have interest rates and inflation impacted your business?
we're seeing a little bit of a of a of a little pullback right now. Personally, we're still selling stuff. It's taking a little bit longer. We're adjusting our prices. We get really good margins on our all of our properties. So we're really having to get properties and lower that price a little bit more. And we're digging a little bit deeper on current stuff that we're getting. But the stuff that we got previously that we're still working on, we're having to lower those prices. But that's one of the reasons why we're building that margin of safety. And we're really trying to protect our time and investor capital moving forward. But there's been a little bit of a stale, but it depends on what price point you're at. We had like one or two projects that were a little bit heavier priced, and those are the ones we're having difficulty moving. But generally, if the stuff that's fairly priced and it's still very good product for that price point, we're still moving, and that stuff's still moving very well.
It seems like you guys are mostly interested in buying and subdividing now. Whereas it
Um,
seemed like before you were buying the entire parcel and then selling the entire parcel. Am I reading that correctly, or?
we're doing a little bit of both. We've come into a lot more private capital recently, and the newer capital, they want better security, so we're having to find product. I always think of like a menu when you're in the real estate business and you're doing stuff like this. You have to like find the right property for the capital's needs, and that's the kind of business we're in. So we've been getting a lot of newer capital, so we're having to source single transactions and just do like a straight flip. They'll do those deals all day long. The subdividings are a little bit more risky because there's no security till we close, and we're having to use our older lenders that we have a lot more credibility with to do those type of transactions. But all that stuff is still going. I mean, we're still looking for bigger projects. Generally, what we look for is stuff 500,000 and up, and there's nobody playing in that space. So we're really digging deep and finding a lot of opportunities. We found like two opportunities between. We found two opportunities. One was 1 million, and the other was 900,000. That are like a really good ROI, easy subdivide plays, and it's worth the effort that we have a longer timeline to move forward and move the transaction. But it's been. I'm excited. It's gonna be a good year. It's gonna be a good year. Hopefully,
I
I'll get both
know
those transactions this year.
I saw you guys doing a little bit of like buying and then like kind of putting some development into it. Are you guys doing anything like that right now?
Yeah, we're doing a little bit of everything. We have a lot of projects going on. A lot of projects. We bought a 10-acre deal. We subdivided into 11 tracts, and we're putting mobile homes on it right now. I have another one, same thing. We bought 5.5 acres. Turning it into 11 tracts. We're putting mobile homes on it. So we're doing a little bit of like vertical construction or horizontal construction. I forget. We're doing a little bit of construction just to kind of feel it out and see if it makes sense to move forward doing it. As of right now, in our current perspective, probably not. But we're still hitting timelines, and we'll see if it makes sense after we finish these projects. But we're dabbling right now. We're experimenting on a couple of projects, doing some mobile homes.
What's interesting is you don't have that many tweets. Everything that you do tweet is like promotional.
Well, I mean that's all automated. That's automated every day.
Ah,
There's a VA that runs that, and she posts it every day. There's 3 videos posted a day. That there's a dollar course post every day, and then there's a tweet about the mastermind every day. And I don't do that. That's just automation. It's automation in a VA. So I mix in and tweet about stuff that's pertinent to me, and like I jump on Twitter and I mostly comment. I don't tweet very often myself, but I comment on a lot of posts that
on
are
other
relevant.
people's posts and you tell them to buy land.
I tell them to buy land because it's. I've seen so many people get hurt on houses, man, and it's one of those things where like I wish everybody knew what I knew, and I know nobody ever will.
Do you think that do you think that real estate has become what it's become in terms of like physical, I guess, like residential real estate, I would say? Do you think it's become that way because so many people are kind of knowledgeable in the space that now they're trying to take advantage of situations? Like, and that I feel like it's not even in terms of like wholesalers, contractors, but even the tenants or even the squatters. Like these people just like everybody knows the game and they're just trying to find different ways to get over on the investor.
I think it's the information age. The information age, double-edged sword. Information is readily available. People like us create content and we reach the masses, and then the masses consume it, and then
Yep.
they get intrigued and they learn. They learn about tenant law. They learn about state friendly squatter rights, and then you have to deal with that stuff. There was a immigrant who learned how to essentially squat in houses in, I don't know if it was California or whatever, and it hit the news because he was teaching people how to squat legally because that's legal squatter rights in the state. So it's one of those things where there's so much information out there, especially with ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT. ChatGPT and AI and technology in the 21st century we're in has really changed. I think it's changed the course game. Anything that's on a course is on. You can find it on ChatGPT now.
Hmm.
If you really think about it. So it's one of those things where there's a lot of information out there that's readily available. If someone wanted and took in the time to learn, it's out there on
Hmm.
every level. Where contractors are learning about flipping numbers and so are tenants and squatter rights, and everybody's learning about each other's thing, a sphere of influence. Because if they're a tenant, well, they have to. Well, I should learn more about tenant law because I'm a tenant. I rent. Contractors are looking. I should learn more about flipping because I work for flippers. So I need to understand their numbers and what they're underwriting for and see if they buy. And if they're in a disclosure state, I can look up how much they bought it for and I can charge them
Yeah.
accordingly.
Contractors as well. Like contractors will know more about your numbers than you know. They're like, how much is the home worth? How much did you spend so far? Oh, that's how much I can charge them now.
It's working backwards. Everybody's learning how to arbitrage in their own way, and it's a good and it's a bad thing. And I I don't know. I like land because no one knows it. No one knows anything about it. It's
Yep.
very it's
And
very niche.
that's kind of where I was getting. I was like, you're in a space where you kind of have a monopoly on the information. And unless you decide to share with somebody, where are they going to find it? How are they going to understand it? How are they going to, because like you can look at a house that's been renovated, like that's a nice looking house, but land is just land. And so I'll see you guys post something. I was like, I just see dirt, man. I just see
And
dirt and trees.
that's the beauty of it. There's I've seen so many tweets. I've been seeing it. I've been hearing stories of like all these like HGTV flippers and they're like I make beautiful product and I flip amazing properties and all this stuff. But then they over rehabbed. They cannot sell that house more than 250 grand, and they bought it for 100 and they put 150 into it, and it's immaculate. It's beautiful, but they can't sell it for more than 250 grand. So now they're negative and they're upside down on this property and they're going to lose money on it. And is it worth the effort? I saw, oh man, I don't even know who it is. It was a tweet I commented. You gotta look at my replies. That's what you gotta look at. My
Yeah.
replies, you gotta look at my replies, not my tweets. My replies are where it's at. So there was a guy a couple days ago. I want to say it was last Thursday. He said he's a new home construction developer. I don't remember where, but he bought the lot for 17 grand. He built a whole brand new home on it for 150 grand, and it's a beautiful, beautiful home. And he's talking about how his ROI was $33,000. He put over 200 grand into this property in probably 18 months to make 30 grand. And I'm like, no, that's not worth the effort. And I quote tweeted it because somebody on Twitter sent me a deal, and we're paying him over 30 grand for this deal he sent me in Florida on a land deal. And I'm just like, I'm paying this guy more than what you did for 2.5 years. Yeah, you can be on the magazine and all that stuff, but is it really worth it? What's the ROI? Like a lot of people, I make a joke about this all the time. Is like, do you invest for exercise or do you invest for ROI? Because I don't know. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
It's crazy. My replies are where it's at.
Man, so I saw Anthony got the Cybertruck and turned it Hive Mind Blue.
Yeah.
And I realized it was Hive Mind Blue, which was really dope because it's like a branding thing. Were you getting the Cybertruck, man, in
No,
Texas?
I actually just got a Tundra.
Okay.
I got a 24 Tundra. Uh,
Locally, or is it in Texas?
oh, it's here. It's in my driveway.
Okay. All right. It's
I got
funny. I
a.
was over there the other day because I had to go pick up an RV, and I was like, I'm gonna drive by and see what Dan's doing in the RV. But you were like somewhere gone, man. That was like I think Fourth of July weekend. You're like in Chicago or something.
No, I was in Santa Rosa. No, I was in by San Francisco. I was up north.
So you ever watch the Pop the Balloon show?
Yes.
What's your
Yes.
take on that stuff?
I think it's funny. I think everybody has their own expectations of a significant other, and then they don't like the truth when it comes from somebody they don't expect the truth from.
What do you mean?
I think a lot of it is everybody has their visual opinion based off of someone how they look and dress, and they instantly are turned on or off about it. And then when they ask them what their opinion was, it's usually doesn't even pertain to the actual reality of that individual and their
Yeah.
personality.
It's always funny to me when they like somebody walks out and they start popping their balloons and they're like, "Hi, what's your name? What do you do?" They even ask the guy what he does yet. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm this guy and I'm an engineer." I was like, "That's crazy," because if you think about it, like they say they want something, but they're really going for the aesthetic. So it's like really they want like the aesthetic to match the job title, when
Yeah.
really it's the job title that matters more than anything, or the
I,
career that
I,
matters.
I think it's just immaturity. I think it's immaturity on a lot of people's standpoint. They don't understand what they really want and what it takes to get there. So they have this false perception.
Mm. What do you mean by that?
Like I think there was the one he was like an entrepreneur or something, and he wanted a certain type of woman, and he was really muscular. That guy, I think he tweeted him the other. It was
Yeah.
from a few weeks ago, and he wanted us. It's like you don't even qualify. Like he was talking smack, and it's one of those things. I think high level men they they have they have variety and they can pick or choose, and a lot of women don't. They like it to an extent, but they're side chick number four.
I think the funniest thing to me is that a lot of people go on the internet and they complain about dating, or they complain about not being able to find somebody. And then you go watch this show and you see people just disqualify people for the most menial things, things that aren't even that important, things that you can work through, things that in the grand scheme of things, like you told somebody who had a lot going for himself that because his shoes were dirty, or because whatever, he was carrying a bag that you didn't like, that you're popping your balloon. Like, people out there who are single are making a conscious decision to just reject everything because nothing is ever good enough. And so I only shared it because there are options out there that are good for a lot of people. I think the only difference is, have you committed to the idea of being in a relationship, or are you only committed to the idea of being in the dream relationship? And so if you are conditioning your life based on the dream, you're probably going to be very disappointed. Like when I started applying to law school, I applied to Stanford, I applied to USC, and I didn't get in. I went to the law school that I could get into. And so a lot of people, they're like, well, if I just can't get into Stanford or USC, I'm just not going to go to law school. I'm like, okay, that doesn't make much sense. You can still be a lawyer. You can still, a lot of people end up in investing how they invest because they couldn't invest where they wanted to invest. So they invested where they could invest, and it still panned out and it still worked out. So, I mean, I just think it's funny because it illustrates to me that these people are so wise in their relationship standards and the relationship requirements, but really they're actually not that smart at all. Because if you understood it, you would understand that like y'all are walking over a lot of quality people over dumb stuff. And I think
I
it just
think
highlights that, and I just laughed the whole time.
I think people that want to date and want to find their significant other, they need to understand marketing. And us as business people talk about marketing all the time, but it really is marketing. If you don't want what you're looking for, stop going to where they hang out. If you want a smart women or smart man, go to college, hang out by universities, go to college towns. Like you go to that environment and you're gonna find that result. So I have a new partner who actually found me on Twitter. Twitter is an amazing resource if you use it properly. He found me on Twitter. We're partnering on a development project in Texas. We're working on it right now. We're actually talking to the city. One of my employees is going to talk to the city Wednesday morning. But he was talking about how he was recruited by a hedge fund, and the hedge fund he went to Ivy League college. I can't remember which one, but he was recruited at the job fair from the college. So these high high level businesses, they find high level talent from high level colleges. What who knew? Who knew you'd find high level people at high level colleges that are good employees? It doesn't make sense. Like I don't know how you put that together. So like if you what you're looking for, you got to figure out where they hang out and where they find them. Like if you want to marry a doctor, go to where doctors eat. Where do they go to the gym? Where do they where do they hang out? Where go to doctors conferences that
Yeah.
meet up in the area? Like that's where
But,
you're gonna meet that
but
right
also,
person.
so two things. I 100% agree with that statement. I've told people that too. Is like I think one of the at this age, the best place to find somebody is either in school or in church, or I would say even at work or at professional conferences, things like that. But I think the other thing is you can't just show up without being somebody who's worthy to be there.
Yep.
So if you show up to a business conference dressed like you're going to the club, probably not going to be taken the most serious. If you go to church dressed like you going to the club, probably not going to be taken the most serious. But if you go to these environments and you dress like you belong and you carry yourself like you belong and you actually do belong, you're going to have a higher likelihood of success in that space. And so when you were saying marketing, I think that one of the things that I've always tried to do is make myself an attractive option. So it's like I don't want to be some bummy thirsty dude out here like trying to chase after. You want to make yourself valuable so that when you are in those spaces, the people that you want to meet in those spaces are drawn to you. And so that's going to be doing the work, not just in having the look. So like, yeah, you can look like it, but then as soon as you open your mouth and you start talking, it's like, what is this person doing here? So it's like you gotta also be qualified. You gotta be qualified. Like you have to like when we were in college and like there would be girls that would come up there who weren't in college. Somebody took them girls seriously. They were just like hanging out with like their cousin who went to college, like, all right, whatever. Like there's a difference. And a lot of times that difference isn't even just the mindset, it translates into the background and how they're raised. Because people in those environments usually have the similar upbringing. And if you have a similar upbringing, you're probably going to have a lot more in common that's going to lead to a relationship outside of just how you look and how much money you have. People have been trying to do that and it's not working. The chasing somebody based on how they look does not work. Chasing based on somebody based off of what they can buy you does not work. It's a lot of folks out here that are heavily disappointed, and that's been their standards and their requirements for a very long time. It's more to it, it's deeper than that. And that's not a bad thing because the relationship is going to pull a lot out of you. And if you don't got a lot inside of you, it's going to be exposed real quick.
I agree. I think yeah, you have to prepare yourself to be in a relationship. I think a lot of people are mature and they're not ready for that relationship. I hear people, friends of mine, that are having babies because they're ready for a baby, and my boyfriend loves me, and I'm like, okay, you're gonna realize that decision and the ramifications of that decision pretty soon and pretty quickly. And it goes the other way too, where you have to give yourself grace and allow yourself to grow into that position. I think a lot of my wife was more mature than me when I first met her,
Is she
and
still more mature than you?
I don't know.
I think
I
you
don't know.
caught up to her.
I I don't know. I think I definitely have more business acumen, but she still has her gifts that she can read. She can read between the lines very well, more than I have, more than I ever could, and she still can. So I think she has like high emotional intelligence, and it's a lot more than mine. So I do leverage that emotional intelligence. But one thing she told me this recently is that she saw potential in me, and I knew when from my perspective she had something I didn't, and I know I needed that part of whatever she had, and it was a gamble that worked out, and like I said, we've been married for 8 years, been together almost 11 years, and I'm 32, so we've been with each other for a long time, and now that I'm in now that I have kids, I want to make sure my kids go to that same environment where most of the kids in my school are two-parent households.
You know what's crazy is like how when you have a two-parent household, you put your kids in environments where there's other two-parent households, and so the two-parent household isn't even truly an advantage in that space. Like you got to go even harder because like I don't know how to explain it, but I had this thought because we were at swim class, and I was
Hmm.
like, everybody here got two-parent households. Or like the school that he goes to, everybody here got two-parent households. So like while it's an advantage, like I feel like to a certain extent, we're not even looking at the other families that don't have that. Like that's not even on our radar. We way past that. Now we're just like, all right, how do we make sure that he's ahead in math? How do we make sure he's ahead in reading? How like so I think also it kind of forces you to do better because you know that I mean and though I'm grateful that we have that and I can see a lot of the value in him based because he's around that. I still feel like I got to go harder, but I guess that's kind of what we all do.
And I think it's the environment. Like most people don't have that. They don't have that experience, or they can't have that experience for whatever reason. And by all means, I think when you put your kid in that standard, they have to rise above. Everybody's the kids in my school. They're like in gymnastics and all tennis and tennis camp and all these different things, and it's it's very interesting to see. But I'm like, this is where Olympic athletes come from. Like
Yeah.
they come from these type of schools, and math and chess wizards and all this stuff. They come from these type of schools because of the environment around them forces them to become better, and
Which then
that's
makes your kids become better because now their peers are doing those things. And so
absolutely.
now they're like, well, I want to do that too. Like, I want to, you know, like, are your kids bringing things like that to you yet?
I haven't noticed any of that yet.
Okay.
Um, they're still very young. I haven't noticed any of that, but the school dynamic, it's been really cool. I don't know. I'm excited. I have one kid at home now.
Oh, so two are in school.
Two are in school now.
Got it.
So I don't know. I've been having babies in my life for a long time, so I have two in school and one at home. And we just started, so I told my this today is like the first full day where all the two kids were in school for a full day. So today was very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, man, I'm trying to think of like a current event. I can't even think of any current event because you don't like the stock market.
I just quoted about the
I saw
AT&T.
that. Were you being sarcastic about that?
I underlie two different sides on my tweets sometimes, where it can go either way. Because I make fun of dividends, but it can go either way. And I don't know. I want to see what the what the response is.
I would say that dividends can make you lazy. Firstly, but also it can make your money go stale. And then also one of the things that I found about dividends is a company can change. So they can be paying dividends for 2, 3 years, and then you never know what's going to happen with an election, with interest rates, with inflation, all that. And so let's say you have a significant amount of money locked up in a dividend paying stock, getting the income, and it's just eroding away every single quarter. And so I feel like there's better opportunities, especially at this age, for your cash. And I think you kind of agree with that, than to just park it in something that's paying you 7 to 8% every single year. And it's just staying flat at best. Like at best, it's staying flat. Maybe you'll see a little increase, but it's not a growth stock. That's why it's paying dividends. They're done growing. Now they're just maintaining and paying out capital to investors. And so at this age, I don't think it's the best use of capital, especially if you have a significant amount of money. It's better to put that into opportunities where you can double, triple your money, leverage your money, and make way more than that, than just sitting back and being like, oh, I'm gonna just collect my little 10% per year and go golf. Like, you're letting opportunities pass you by. You're letting the stock market pass you by. You're letting these opportunities to invest in land, buy a business, whatever that might look like, pass you by. Where, like, I feel like you grow your money outside of the stock market, you maintain your money inside of the stock market. So the stock market, unless you're trading, but I mean, even like the good stuff, the value stuff, the hyper growth stocks, that takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are into something that is going to be able to allow you to get that pop a lot faster, it makes more sense to get that pop, take it out, put it back in, and something else is going to pop, and just keep flipping that up and using your energy and your intelligence right now to do business, as opposed to just like trying to passively invest. And I think you can do both, but you shouldn't rely on one. You should continue doing business. It's not just business. It's not just investing. It's business and investing, in my opinion. And trading is the business of the stock market. So if you are trading, if you're active in it and you're looking for opportunities every single day, it's a little bit different than just like putting money in a long-term portfolio and expecting to live off of that long-term portfolio. I don't think that's necessarily the strategy in this space, in this era of life.
I equate it to whatever season you're in personally. So if you're broke to barely making it, you should not invest in dividends, because you should be investing in growth. You need to figure out how to make money with your money, and not passively. You need to be an active investor. Active investors make the ROI. That's a tweet I tweeted.
Yep.
Active investors make ROI. So learn how to be an active investor early on to make the money. And then you said it, then once you have the money, then you can stabilize that money through other channels like stocks and dividends and all that stuff. But it's not a growth ROI, it's a stabilization ROI. And you have to understand the difference. So if I only have $50,000 less to my name, I need to figure out how to flip and make it to $500,000, because you can, if you can get 50 to 500, that's a, what is it, 1,000% gain, right, or 100% gain. If you can get 50 to 500, and then do 10% from there, you're doing all right. You're doing all right. But the hard part is growing that pot to become anything worth investing with.
Yeah. But I feel like what you said earlier in the conversation, where you're getting really, really good at business. And so the reason why that's important is because when you go long-term stock market investing, the thought process stops once you put it in the market. Mm-hmm. You figure out what you're going to buy, you put it in there, and then you wait. Whereas if you take that same cash, you get busy, you start looking for opportunities, you're constantly thinking. And as you're thinking, you're growing. And as you're growing, you're finding new opportunities in the market. You're finding new things that you could spin off, new ways to do something that you were doing last year. And so, like, yeah, I think it's cool to be able to have the luxury of to put it in there. I don't think that's the end all be all. I think that you have to constantly be looking for new opportunities, just because of the options that come from the opportunities, and because the knowledge and wisdom that you're going to gain, that's going to allow you to make way more than if you were to put that cash into NVIDIA and then call it a day. Like the thinking is the wealth. It's called, I tell people all the time, it's think and grow rich. It's not buy a stock once and wait and grow rich. He didn't never say that in the book. He said, think. The wealth is in your thoughts. The thing that you get, the money you guys make comes from your thoughts. You guys take the land and you apply knowledge to it, and that creates the opportunity. The reason why it's an opportunity for you, but it's not an opportunity for other people, is because they didn't put the thought to it. All they see is land. They don't know the strategy. They don't know the potential exits. The value that you guys add is the wisdom and the knowledge. And that comes by doing.
Yeah. I always see the people in the stock market chasing the tops, and they don't even know where the top is. You have no idea. You're volatile to whatever who's in office. Like I don't want to invest in a space where the dude sneezes and I lose 10%.
Yeah, exactly. Some dude writes an article and now you're down 20K. Like, what the heck?
That's crazy. And that's the volatility you deal with whenever you're heavily invested in that space. Like I there was somebody tweeted the other day. It might have been yesterday. They're like, "Oh, I bought these stocks and it's doubled since 2020." And I'm like, I buy today 50 cents in the dollar, knowing what my exit is tomorrow. And it's pretty. It's not a sure thing, but it's pretty damn sure.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of times you already know who's going to buy it and you know what they'll pay for it. So you know what your exit looks like. That's why wholesalers in a lot of instances make more money than even flippers.
Mm-hmm.
And then their ROI is so massive because they have no cash out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to make sure I get this uploaded to different podcasts. We got to do this more. I'll have more topics because, I mean, the goal is to start just flooding the market again, going full 10X.
You haven't recorded anything in a long time.
Yeah, it's been like a year.
Has it been that long?
It feels like it. If I've done anything, it's probably been like off and on. But I haven't recorded anything consistently for a long time, man. Like a long time. So honestly, a part of it,
I'm an episode like 60.
It's because of Joe Biden and Bidenomics.
Oh man!
But now we have hope.
It ruined your production.
hope that we can get a new economy, because this economy is trash. Anyway, brother, Daniel Hivemind CRM. The guy knows everything about land. He has a whole bunch of quality content that you can tap into, and he also has some paid content. I'm pretty sure they have mentorship. You can get the CRM. The brothers are doing good things, and they're people that you want to know in the land space. Anything from you, brother, before we head out?
Go create. Go do something. Go make a difference. Make the world a better place.